Welcome to Comic Book Nation and this bonus episode, reaction episode to some pretty monumental news in the world of gaming, in the world of movies, in the world of pop culture, really. We are getting a Legend of Zelda movie. Joining me today for this quick little reaction segment is one of our comic book gaming experts, Logan Moore. And we are going to quickly just break down what is going on with this Zelda movie and all the big questions we are now sitting on. So let's just get into it. Thank you for joining us. Subscribe to Comic Book Nation on YouTube and all our audio platforms. Logan, let's go over the details. So we're getting this Legend of Zelda movie. It's supposed to be, it's said that it's live action. Mm-hmm. But there are some wrinkles to that because it's going to be directed by Wes Ball, who people best know as the director of the Maze Runner movies. You and I were talking about, solid movies there. And this came years after he sent out a tweet about this very project. So
I think like in 2010, he said like the next like mocap heavy movie that somebody should make should be tied to The Legend of Zelda.
And this was after Avatar, yeah.
Yeah, so, this was after Avatar. Like he said that Avatar kind of started his wheels spinning of what a live-action Zelda movie could be like. And apparently he's had this idea for 13 years now. So
this is going to be worked on as a partnership between Nintendo and Sony Pictures.
Yes. And
Nintendo's coming off, I mean, if we really get in the nitty gritty of I'm an 86. I was a kid who got his Nintendo in 86. Okay, mm-hmm. That's how old I am. Sorry, guys. But there were two big things I got. I mean, three big things, really. I got Mario Brothers in that Duck Hunt combo. Shout out to Duck Hunt. I got now Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Of course.
And a day later, my mom brought home from the mall a golden cartridge.
Gold cartridge.
Yeah, which was Legend of Zelda. Mm-hmm. So these are Nintendo's two biggest icons. Arguably, still, is Link on one side, Mario on the other. Mario just became $1 billion hit this year.
This will probably be a $2 billion hit whenever it comes out.
Exactly.
Adjusting for inflation.
Right. But, so this is a major deal. And it's curious that it's this director because, and this is no shade to throw at Wes Ball. I really do enjoy my sci-fi, dystopian, YA stuff. So I love the Maze Runners, but for a project of this magnitude, him specifically being picked makes me seriously wonder if there wasn't something from those ideas from even back then or something he had that has continued to evolve.
Yeah.
From that made Nintendo say, tell us more.
Well, Miyamoto said in the announcement post announcing this is that they have been talking about this or ruminating on this idea for several years at this point. And apparently Avi Arad is the person he has been predominantly talking to about this for a long time. So that's why Sony is stepping in and that's why Sony's funding half and Nintendo's funding half. How do you think everybody at Universal feels right now?
So for anybody who's outside the gaming / comic community, this is Shigeru Miyamoto.
Yeah,
Miyamoto.
The creator of basically every Nintendo game you like.
Early on, yeah. And Zelda being one of them. Mm-hmm. And Avi Arad, who kind of was this guy producer and kind of businessman who got himself locked into the Spider-Man franchise as one of the primary kind of owners, controllers of the Spider-Man franchise. And especially the live action movie rights along with Pascal Pictures. And so, he was behind, Amazing Spider-Man. I used to interview this guy and talk to him in the 2010s during that. And he was a guy, and he's, one of the most powerful, he's just a big producer. He's a big kind of, brand maker in entertainment. So, but it's, such a weird combo that I don't think anybody who's in comics and gaming would have ever sat down on any kind of, lunch table geek conversation and been you know who should get together? Avi Arad and Miyamoto. That would be that's but it's I'm not mad at it. It's just it's really crazy. I know Avi Arad knows how to sink his hands into a franchise in a real fan. I mean, the guy's a fan. If you've never seen this man, he's an old, I believe, Israeli man, and he has rings on every finger that are like Marvel and or Spider-Man and or Thanos.
I was gonna say he's rocking the Spider-Man merch 24/7.
24/7.
Yeah.
Dripped out in every aspect with like the latest, like greatest Spider-Man merch. And so, like, this man, when he loves a franchise, what I'm saying is he loves a franchise. So
he's gonna show up in a green tunic to the premiere in 2030 when this movie comes out.
I mean, that's not impossible. Like, or with like a Master Sword, a real one, like on his back. And none of this is outside the realm of possibility. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. We have Jurassic World screenwriter Derek Connolly, who is, he's a pretty solid talent doing that and kind of coming in. But I think for a lot of us, it's kind of the question of what kind of shape is this going to take in terms of like format, right? We hear live action, but we hear this kind of motion capture. Mm-hmm. You and I were talking behind the scenes. I said I could see them trying to do something not like kind of revolutionary, like trying to bring the animated kind of anime influence art style that has always been iconic to Zelda to life on screen using motion capture actors. Like, I could see them going for that. And if they can pull that off, that would be pretty stunning. Like, that would be...
You're talking like a Beowulf type movie or something like that?
But I'm so carefully trying to word this because I know the first thing that people are going to do, they're going to start just conjuring those Zemeckis era CGI movies where we turn Beowulf and A Christmas Carol and all those things that looked not so great, and people are going to be like, we're going to do that again. But I'm trying to believe that like time and technology has come far enough. I've seen Avatar 2. I know we can make it look photorealistic. It makes me think if you can take people, and I would even believe in a 3D of this, and make them feel like they're not just watching a movie, but they're actually like immersed in walking through the world of Hyrule with Link and doing all this stuff. Like, that's the goal, and make it feel like the world of Zelda.
My thing is that I think to get a movie like what you're describing, you kind of need an auteur at the helm or something, like a James Cameron or a Peter Jackson, or like some of these people that have like distinct, very clear visions of what they want to do. And I'm not saying West Ball doesn't have this, but they're kind of assembling a team here that it seems clear that they're trying to create like a summer blockbuster movie rather than something in the vein that you're sort of describing, like an Avatar or something along those lines. So that's kind of where I wonder how this is going to actually turn out. Like if you're getting Avi on board and you're tapping the Maze Runner guy and you're tapping the Jurassic World screenwriter, it's like, okay, what is this? Is this just going to be like a popcorn flick? Which it will be for all audiences. You're obviously going to, I mean, Zelda's for all ages. Everybody who's from 8-year-olds to 80-year-olds is going to go see this whenever it comes out. It'll be a huge, huge hit. But I am genuinely wondering what form it's going to take. As far as like the animated stuff, I know a lot of people wanted this to be animated because the Super Mario Bros. Movie was well received. I just want them to go, no, just full live action. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's see what you got in a full live action format. I think like what the Spider-Verse movies have shown me is that like you can kind of drop the ball with live action and then come in later and do like an animated movie or something like that, and it can still be just as good. And obviously with Zelda, there's so many different timelines and games to pull. Like, who's to say they're not going to do a live action Zelda movie here and then 5 years down the line be like, oh, we're going to do like a Wind Waker inspired Zelda animated movie or something like that. Now, well, like, I think all of this can coexist because the Zelda timelines are different and they're distinct. They kind of tie together in a weird way, but not really at the same time. So like they can get multiple projects in this vein going if they're going to start exploring what a Zelda movie universe would look like. But for this first one, I really just would like it. Just do full live action. Obviously, if you're going to have Ganon in it and he's going to be a pig demon guy, you're going to have to do some crazy CG with that or something. But
yeah, I mean, this was going to be my kind of undercurrent to this is, if nothing else, I hope this is a kind of gatebreaker for like returning Zelda to like media, because I grew up with that crazy cartoon with that and Super Mario Brothers and the cereal and all that. Excuse me, princess. Yep, that's like, yeah. I mean, I hope there is some kind of like callback to that. I mean, if we are just going like live action B movie, and nothing wrong with B movies, like I hope it's just fun, like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
Honor Among Thieves. Good example of.
That's kind of how I'm thinking this is going to turn out.
You thinking this is going to turn out more like that?
Something.
Well,
like,
I mean, Derek Connolly also wrote Monster Trucks and Kong Skull Island.
He also wrote the first draft of Rise of Skywalker, I believe, which was not used, but.
Yep, and he wrote all 3 Jurassic World movies, which meant he wrote the second and third. Okay, so yeah, I think you're more right than I am on this. I mean, unless Nintendo and Sony have like the AI machine already cranking out that animation overlay, and they've got that all in the bag, and they just need, human with breathing body to get everybody where they need to go before they paint over it, then I think you're more right than I am, and we're going to get in. That's not bad. I think you can make. Look, I grew up in the 80s. Like, I grew up when, like, those kind of crazy B movies, Lady Hawk, The Sword and the Sorcerer, all those old kind of almost like glam rock, weird B movie sword and sand, like, adventure epics were getting released. I miss those. I wouldn't be mad at another one coming back.
The main reason I want this to be live action above all else is I feel like we still have not had a truly amazing live action video game adaptation, specifically in the movie realm. Obviously, like The Last of Us is great, but that's a TV show. And then like Uncharted was like, it was like pretty good. It was fine.
It was a movie. It definitely had people. I remember part of that.
Yes. It was not horrible in the way that other video game adaptations have been, because most of them have just been so atrocious in the past. So I want to see people swing for the fences when they're going to do these video game adaptations. And I kind of get the sense that that's what Nintendo is doing here. Nintendo's very all in or nothing kind of company, I feel like. Again, I don't feel like Miyamoto was going to do this until, again, he's clearly been talking about the idea for years, like he said. I don't think he's going to do it until he feels like things are in place to where they can do it in the way that he imagines. He has... Even though he's not as much of a director or whatever now, he still has he kind of controls everything that happens over there at Nintendo. If they're putting together a product he doesn't like, he's going to let you know about it and what needs to change with it. And he has the final say with a lot of this stuff. So even though there are certain directors and screenwriters involved, I have a feeling that he will be giving comprehensive notes on everything that is going on with this and how he wants to see this turn out.
Yeah, Nintendo is never going to forget that Super Mario Brothers movie from that live action one. They're never going to forget that.
And we won't either.
No, I'm sure like there's still executives over there wake up in the night screaming like with scenes of that they're trapped in scenes of that movie. So I agree with you. They have not been known for being hasty with rushing any of these properties to the movie screen for a check, because they know how to get the check so many other ways.
I'll say this one other thing too. The one other reason I'm such a big proponent of this being live action is I feel like it's one of only maybe like 2 or 3 properties that Nintendo owns where they could do a live action movie. It's like this, Metroid could probably be another one. Other than that, like a live action Star Fox doesn't work. Nope. It's anthropomorphic animals. It's like Kirby wouldn't work. Pokemon they've kind of done with Detective Pikachu, but that's obviously like a little bit mixed CGI and live action type stuff. Like this is one of the only properties in their wheelhouse where I feel like it just makes sense to try to do in this style. So do it. Give it a shot. See what happens. If it's terrible, again, they can still tap Illumination to make a Wind Waker movie 5 or 10 years down the road or something.
All right.
Like that.
Final thing before we get out of here. Just taking speculative bets. Do you think any obvious choices are obviously the latest Switch games? Where do you think they're going to pull? Do you think they'll get into that, or do you think they'll keep it simple, just kind of start with the basic first kind of Zelda premise?
I think the premise of the first Zelda is very not super story heavy. And it's kind of similar to Breath of the Wild in some ways. So I feel like as a template, it might make sense to pull from that. The most obvious, I mean, the picture behind us here, Ocarina of Time, is my favorite, is the one I would like to see adapted the most. I think it has the most like depth and the most kind of twist, with Ganondorf getting power and Zelda turning into Sheik, and and then the time jump stuff. I think there's a lot of cool stuff they could do within Ocarina of Time storyline compared to a lot of other Zelda stories that are out there.
You just messing with Twitter right now?
No, I'm not.
You're just messing with gaming Twitter? Because
no.
I know what was happening. People have been People have been debating about this game. Now we got into the
Ocarina of Time is my favorite game of all time, so
now,
I am super, super biased.
Same here, but it
regard.
lived long enough to see itself become the villain, apparently, on Gaming Twitter this week. So, I think that'd be a good place to pull because it has enough complexity, but simple enough complexity, if that makes any sense. It was for those Super Nintendo years, and it was just there's enough surprises, time jumps, twists, but simple enough.
Link to the Past could work too, kind of in that regard, because you're jumping between like realities and stuff like that, or the dark world and the light world and stuff like that. And that might work a little bit better because it wouldn't require an actor change or anything like that, because obviously Ocarina is all centers around Link gets older halfway through the game. There's like a 7 or 8 year time jump that happens, and I don't know how they would really do that. So I don't know. It's probably going to be inspired by one of the games predominantly, but I bet it's a very original idea at the end of the day. I just want to see Ganondorf. Just put Ganondorf in the game. Not Ganon. I don't just want the evil
entity
pig entity version of him. We got to make him... Let's make him a dude. Let's make him the Gerudo dude that he is from these games.
Yeah, that is the best version. At this point, that is the version. All right. We will be keeping on top of this for sure. Comic Book Gaming is on it as always. I want to thank Logan Moore for coming on and talking about this with me today, because somebody messaged me yesterday at our Slack, was like, hey, do you want to talk about it? You want to do a reaction to the Zelda gaming news? And I had signed off, and I was like, what are you talking about? And then everybody in my house heard me scream, and then my son, who is watching me play Tears of the Kingdom right now, we both were huddled around the TV screen like we're the same age, and my wife was just shaking her head. But this is exciting news. So we will be back with another Comic Book Nation episode. We're here every Friday, and subscribe to our channels because we have content just like this and about 1,000 other things coming your way. We will see you out there. This is Comic Book Nation. Peace.